Leadership isn't a title, it's a journey, and it starts right here. This is the TEMSA Leadership Podcast, where self-leadership fuels professional excellence. Hosted by Eric Kloss, an accomplished paramedic, leadership-focused nurse, renowned speaker, and published author, each episode is designed to challenge, inspire, and elevate you. So, are you ready to lead? Hit that subscribe button and join the movement.
I'm fired up that we're hanging out.
I know.
Thank you guys.
Us too. Thanks for having us.
This is like rock star stuff.
Oh gosh.
You guys are like legends in the EMS.
What?
We have a lot to talk about, and I'm excited. I had your service on. Your service won ALS Service of the Year.
Yeah, they did.
It's a huge deal. You guys are part of that team, and I've listened to your journey and heard about your journey, and a lot to talk about. But before we do, I would love for you all to introduce yourself and kind of just tell everybody a little bit about you. Jamie, Aubrey.
Jamie. Yeah, I'm Jamie. I'm a critical care paramedic. I'm going on my close to 9th year at the county where I work, and then, I guess it's Rutherford County.
Yeah,
I'm going on my 9th year at Rutherford. We run a podcast called Life in Sirens.
Which is great, by the way.
It started this year. It's me, Aubrey, and our third is Sophie Fuller, and she can't be here today, but yeah.
That's okay. We forgive her.
Yeah, she'll maybe.
Slowly but surely. Mm-hmm. I'm Aubrey. I've been in EMS for 6 years now. I just graduated medic school about a year and a half ago, so I'm still going through the whole EMT to medic transition, which is great to be able to do when you have people like Sophie and Jamie right alongside you. It's been a great journey. And I've been at Rutherford County for all 6 years.
Yeah. I want to ask you this question, Aubrey. How difficult has it been to go from transition from EMT to paramedic?
So that is just such a difficult gap to fill, I feel. It's on the outside looking in, it is similar roles, right? But both of you guys know sitting here that is completely different roles. And I think that the biggest gap for me to overcome was I've been partners with Jamie since I've been full-time on the ambulance, and she is incredible. I'm sure you've already ascertained this just by interacting with her, but she is incredible at scene management. She has a plan going into the call. She makes decisions very quickly, very efficiently, to the point that I never really had to make a decision. I got to follow lead a lot, which was great, and I got to see what that looked like. But when I got into that role, I very quickly realized that I had no experience making those decisions. And so I think that's been my biggest challenge, but we're working on it. We're working through it.
Aubrey, that's great insights. I think I can remember back to when I had a paramedic partner, which was a blessing, but also not, right? Where you're like, wow, you get to learn. And I remember the first time that I'm not with a paramedic, and I'm like, whoa, the responsibility was like overwhelming. Like, wow, this is like real. And so it is a difficult transition that you're living. It certainly makes you stronger, but it's tough. Jamie, what's your insights on that?
It pointed out, Aubrey transitioning from her AMT to her paramedic, for me pointed out some gaps in my ability to lead a crew, because leading is also teaching how to lead, and I didn't do that. I very much that was my thing, and I was good at it, and I just kept doing it. And so then once Aubs got her medic, and I was like, hey, this is your call. Like, I'm going to step back. I realized, because she said, I don't know how to do that. And I realized that I had never stepped back before.
So she became dependent on you, but you did that naturally and not even realize it, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very comfortable.
So it became something that we actively started to work on, is our partnership and my ability to take a step down and be okay with things being different. And I would step in sometimes and be like, hey, let's do this. And Obbs would be like, hey, James, it's just my way. And she would have to remind me that it's okay if it's not the way I would do it, because it's still correct. And that turned out to be one of the healthiest things for me as a medic. because I very much came up in the era of like, you own it, it is yours, it is on your shoulders. And to be double medic, it was so cool to realize that part of that is collaboration and really allowing somebody else to lead you. And yeah, it's taken some work.
Were you partnered with a paramedic when you got out of school?
I was. My current captain, Austin Metter, was my first partner when we were already partners. Then when I came out of medic school, I was with Austin for another like 6 months.
So I worked with, and David's still there, his mom and dad, and I mean, that whole family is like, legend in EMS, been ever.
Absolutely.
Which are great, right? I mean, you're coming in. I'll never forget I was with a paramedic preceptor, and we were together for quite a while. He has since died, but I learned so much from him. But after that, I got an EMT partner. And the call that I feared the most during that time, and it was a strong EMT, it was actually Billy Stiegel, which you all know.
Uh-huh.
We were partners
Loved
for a
him.
while, and just an amazing guy. Like, I knew that he had my back in every way. I learned so many things. One of the things that I was petrified, because I knew that it stopped with me being responsible. And, interesting enough, the call that I dreaded was CPR in progress. That was the call that got me. And it was probably about 3 months, and the call came in the middle of the afternoon. And actually, we were coming over I-24 right there on Franklin Highway. And I'm getting anxious. Man, I'm 21 at the time, and I am absolutely tore up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to be responsible for everything. This is probably one of the only times this ever happened. The patient presented perfect ACLS scenario in VFib. That was textbook. I've never seen that again since, and that was my first experience. And then after that, I felt like, okay, I can do this. But that was the pivotal call for me, and I had no backup. It's me. And so that was terrifying. Lee and I, were two paramedics. There was a lot of paramedics when we were there in Rutherford during the 90s. And it's it allows you to relax. It decreases the stress to know that you have the partner. But man, for the individuals that are in this state and even around the country that listen to this, that don't have a paramedic to rely on, or it's two AEMTs or an AEMT and a basic, it stretches you, but you still rely on your partner, and this is certainly one of the most challenging things I think that we can do. And one of the things, and I know we have a lot to talk about because you all are leaders, but I want to talk about your podcast. Kind of walk us on that journey. How long have you guys been doing that?
We started in the last year, and we do this thing on shift. We have a pretty large bay, and we will all just sit out in the bay. We have 2 trucks at our station and our captain, Austin. We sit out in the bay and we just talk. We talk about meds, we talk about protocols, we talk about life, we talk about mental health. We just talk. And we've said for years, man, what if we recorded this? I think that this might be cool for something. And then finally, Sophie, who's our fearless leader, she said, well, let's just do it. And we decided that we were going to do it, and so scheduled it with Columbia to be able to use their equipment that day. And
so
then
the
once
podcast with birth, just like that.
Just like that. She just said, let's do it.
Yeah, literally just like that. After the first failed episode that we recorded at Columbia, we got off shift the next shift because we were scrambling. We had already released a release date, and we were like, we have got to re-record that. That was not good. We got off shift one morning. We had looked up online, where can we buy audio equipment for ourselves? We drove around the city like mad people, bought audio equipment, went home, recorded it, and then put out the first episode the next day. Yeah. So, when we say it went like this, it did.
Really did. Our first episode that we ever recorded that is unreleased, and maybe one day we will release it.
Release it from the vault.
We sat in Columbia State's their simulation ambulance, and we're like, this will be so cool. We sit in there.
I'm very familiar with it.
We have come prepared. We have stories. We've written things down. We've redacted HIPAA information. I mean, we are ready. We sit down. We do this. We feel good about it. We're really amped. We go home. We go to edit it, and we sit and we listen, and we're like, guys, this is garbage. And as we're listening to it, I'm getting bored. I was getting just started to zone out of my own voice. And it was horrid. And I was like, oh my gosh, guys, this is going to be bad. And that is when we just nixed that and we went and got equipment and we're like, we have to redo it. And that was the decision. I don't know if we knew it was conscious in that moment, but that's when we made a decision to not do it so scripted and planned because it wasn't authentic. And we even knew that it was bad because it wasn't real. And so then we just started winging it.
And just making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier now, isn't it?
It is. It's much more synergistic.
Yeah.
We've gotten better at self-correcting. We're all pretty ADHD, and so we will over-talk each other because we're excited to jump in on the same thought process and content that doesn't record well. So we've had to adjust some of those things. We adjust the way we pause if we need to restate something. And yeah, we've learned quite a bit, but there's still a lot more.
It's a fast train.
It is a fast train. It's been good. And we've got Soph, and she, man, that is a force of a woman. And she will just drive you. And nothing is impossible to her. And it is amazing to watch not only the idea machine that she truly is, but also the drive that she has. Mm-hmm. There is no, this would be wonderful to try sometime. It is, we're trying it tomorrow. What's your calendar look like next week? And she plans and pushes you forward. So the people and providers that we are, I owe so much of that to her because she has that forward momentum that you just can't help but like be pumped about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We need people in our lives like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Lee is that way for me. He's the idea guy. It's not easy, but sitting here and having the conversation and all this stuff is set up. I want to ask you specifically is for the people that have the idea of doing a podcast, right? It starts with an idea. Would you encourage them to do it? Like they're like, man, I just can't see myself doing that. I have nothing to share. We've all felt that way. But what has that experience been like? What's encouragement that you would have for somebody that is like, man, I really want to do a podcast?
Oh, man, do it. There's
Yeah.
so much strength in numbers, and we all have wisdom to gain from each other, and it has brought this community together. Just being able to interact with people, because as a byproduct, now we have a TikTok page. Of course, we're under the age of 30. We have a TikTok page. And it has brought...
I'm not under the age of 30, so.
It's okay, Jamie, neither.
I didn't mean to call you out like that.
She called us both out. by
She
the way.
did. She said, anyway, old people.
Yeah, Aubrey, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. But like through that, we've just gotten to do so many just fun little things and got to have little communication with people that really has been big communication about tiny things that you can do right now in EMS to make your life better and better for EMS and generations to come. And I think that is pivotal and that is huge and
Yeah.
makes it worth it.
And we started this because we love this job. We love this career. And we also love the things that we hate about it. We wanted to talk about it in real time and with real feeling about the parts of this career that are messy and poorly done and not pretty. And then the parts of it that are the exact opposite of that and that are beautiful and moving and motivating and all of it. And to be able to have some candid conversations about those things. So if you think that you've got something to say, you probably do. And my challenge for you is to just do it. And because the worst thing that happens is you fail. And by failure, I just mean that not a lot of people listen to it. You've still gotten the experience of producing content and organizing thought and learning how to interact in that interface. That can only be beneficial for you later on down the road to maybe do a talk or to pair together content to give to your admin. It will give you good experience. So just try
Let's do it. I 100% agree. We're 2.5 years into this, and I think I'm comfortable now with knowing where my skill set is and not trying to be somebody I'm not. Like, people know me very well. People will come up, probably to y'all as well, and they have a conversation with, like, they know me. Because they do, because, you know, they hear my voice, but I don't know them. It's a very interesting thing, and it truly is a pleasure to be able to do that and to, you know, to be real and to interview people like you. And are you all in an official leadership capacity at your at Rutherford?
I'm an FTO and an alternate captain.
Okay.
And I'm just a field paramedic.
Okay. Not just a field.
Not
but
just.
I am a field paramedic.
Do you feel like you're a leader, Aubrey?
I feel like there's an opportunity to lead at any point. Yeah.
Okay.
Aubrey also does. She's not going to hype herself up, but I will. She's been integral in the flip of our ambulance service. So we completely broke down and redid the inside to organize it to actually be effective and efficient. And she headed that.
I want to talk about that. Brian, him and I had a conversation. I know the story, but I want to go back just a little bit, and I want to create the picture of how significant that was. Before the change, tell us what it was like checking the truck off.
In short, a headache.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about specifically why, and I understand because there's a lot of things to check the truck off, but just kind of give us an overview with some of the specifics about why it was a headache.
Sure. We have, at that time, I think we had 16 or 17 ambulances. Now we have 18 frontline. And when I tell you every single one of them was completely different, I mean every single one of them was completely different. We had bags for certain situations, but they were all set up differently. We had jump bags that were inadequate to run a variety of calls. It was really just a trauma bag with an AED.
Like a Band-Aid bag, really.
Yeah. And so what we found, or what we were seeing, was that a lot of crews were purchasing their own bags and making their own go bags, which led to more chaos because those were personal bags. So they left with the provider. When you had to work on that truck, you had a Band-Aid in your bag. That was throughout the whole county. So finally, we also made our own go bag. And we just kind of saw the need that it takes too long to check off these trucks. You get into a stressful call, you pick up a shift, you have no idea where anything is. Unless you take an hour in the morning to really go through your whole truck, you're not going to know where critical things are. Supervisors on the trucks, they are there to help you, and a lot of the times it'll be like, what do you need? And you'll say, I need this, this, and this. Well, now they have to search through your truck. People who are part-timers, who are lifesavers and pick up overtime for us and fill in the gaps, it was the same issue for them. So it was really widespread and needed to be addressed.
So you guys had, in putting this in a leadership perspective to help our audience, so you identified a problem. Like it was a true problem, and it wasn't just a problem for you all. So you identified that. What did you do next? Did you share the idea with someone? Like, how did you get it up the chain? Tell us that process.
The first step was, we mentioned that we saw that providers that are not compensated to the degree that we feel like they should be, were spending their own money buying jump bags. And we're like, well, this is an issue. Because we did it. We bought a jump bag, built it out to where we could effectively run any call on scene for a minimum of 10 minutes. That was our goal. And then all the other shifts on our truck were like, hey, can we just keep your bag on our truck? And we're like, yeah, sure. So then the bag that we built out stayed on our main line that we're on, which is Medic 15. And then Medic 2, they did the same thing, which is Sophie's truck. They built theirs out. And after that, it was really other crews that started being like, hey, how do we make this mainstream? And one day, you guys discovered bins.
Yeah. Ashley and Sophie, it's Sophie's partner, she came back from the store with a singular clear plastic container, like an acrylic, and used it in their truck for something very specific. And we were like, what if everything in this ambulance was clear? Because, the big classic EMS bins that are clunky and you can't see, you have to actually look in the cabinet, and if you're short, you can't see over it.
A lot of that.
And we were like, what if we can do that for every cabinet with everything? And then that idea just kind of built and built and built. And if we're being very honest and candid, we went out and bought all of the things and just did it with no permission.
It's true leadership. Like you're making things happen because there's a need.
Yeah, we just we bought all of it was kind of a months-long process of figuring out what worked, what didn't work, where we needed to move things. We had buy-in from all the crews at our station, so everybody, all the other shifts were on board with the changes we were making. And finally, all the crews that were seeing our truck at the hospital were like, how do we do this? Like, we want our truck to do this. People that picked up overtime on our truck were like, this is so much easier. And so finally, our admin was like, what are y'all doing? And instead of scolding us for doing things without permission, so I don't recommend, but they said, okay, like, show me why this is better. Give me the data, show me the check off and how much faster it can go. All the things, and we did. And we showed them like the bag reduction, which minimizes your stress. It makes sure that your crews have everything they need on with them, and they don't have to get 15 things from different places. The supervisors jumped on board because they could know where all the stuff in the trucks were. And they finally, once they were like, okay, it gets better, then they just said, what do you need?
Got buy-in from everyone. The momentum started. Where are you guys now with that? What is different about the teams that come in, about the trucks?
Yeah, we actually, so every year we do an annual shift bid. I'm sure you remember. And it's February, we just had that transition. And one of our supervisors pointed this out the other day. He's like, every year when we change stations, there is always a lot of complaining because it's a lot of, well, I don't understand why this truck is set up this way, and this is how we had it at this truck. And he said, I heard zero of that this year.
So a standardized process, everybody's on the same page, and it decreases the stress. Crews are happier. It's the little things, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's scary. I mean, you get in a high-pressure situation, you don't know where something is.
Yeah.
Things start to go down quick.
And the rollout of that process was very streamlined. And so they said, you guys did this, so you guys do this. And they gave us all the equipment that we needed, and then let us set our own timeline. So once we were able to get everything in, we set a 2-week timeline. We flipped all 18 trucks in 2 weeks and had a process for getting that crew in another unit while we redid their truck on shift and did all of that. And now every frontline truck is the same. And if it's different, it is like by minimal, or it's because we have a different box design because we've had some remounts and things. And now it is like the tiniest things that crews will be like, well, I want an extra Epi 1-to-1 in this bag. But it used to be huge things. Like, why is my airway cabinet at the foot? You know, like it was wild on every
Things
truck.
that would drive you crazy.
Yeah. And now you just know. You know where everything's supposed to live. And it has taken the stress really down so much. And to hear other crews echo that sentiment has been really cool.
I think one of the things that stand out to me when we talk leadership is that for those that are listening, I hope you please pay attention that it is not the people in the office that are the leaders. Like, this is true leadership on getting an idea and being able to take it forward and make a change for your admin team to be able to recognize the frontline providers have the answer. We've heard, I'm sure you guys have heard, the people that know the answers to the problems are the people that are on the front line. And that is a very, 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 very true statement. And it's a very powerful thing. And kudos to you all for being able to make that change, because this is the lasting impact where you guys have the empowerment. We talked about it in the leadership class, right? The empowerment of being able to make change and make the industry better. And before I let you guys go, I'm so grateful that you guys are hanging out. This is fun. We could do this for another couple of hours. I would love to hear your thoughts on how you feel about EMS as an industry and a career, and just in general thoughts about it. You guys are certainly are leading the path of people that are in FTO positions or are going to be in whatever you want to do because of you being around a lot of mentors and you mentoring as well. What's the industry look like to you? Are you excited? Are you not? Just kind of where are you? I'm going to let Aubrey start first.
You said you didn't want to hang out for another 2 hours?
I would love to. Actually, I would.
So, like James said earlier, this is a career that we are all super passionate about. We love this career. This job is the craziest thing ever. We always describe it as, well, a couple things, but one of our favorites is for 24 hours, so everybody, the whole county has your phone number, and you can't say no. People can call and be like, I need a cheeseburger, and you don't have to bring them a cheeseburger, but you do have to go. What other job do you do that? It's wild. And I think that there is so much room for improvement. I mean, just what we've already talked about, little things. Systemically, there's so much room for improvement, but we talk about this a lot, in the Bay especially. This is such a young career field, and sometimes when you look at it as a whole and you're like, we need to change this and this and this, and if we just get to this level, that will bring up so much opportunity. And sometimes it can get frustrating looking at it from that perspective, because then once you have this step, you see all the 27 mini steps that have to come before that. Then you remember that EMS has only been around since the 1960s, and look how far we have to go. But like, that excites me. That statement like brings so much like peace and joy to me, because we have so much time to get so much better, and I cannot wait to see where this career goes.
Yeah.
And you're pushing the envelope, by the way. I mean, you guys are, when your voice is out there and you're you all are game changers. You're not just talking about it, which always frustrated me, right? People that are just talking about it or gripe, that are not taking action to improve the field. It's never easy. It never is. It's never easy to become better. It's never easy to be a trendsetter and to push the boundaries. It's always messy. I've used the analogy, it's like taking the stairs all the time, but everybody wants to take the elevator, right? I mean, it never stops, and I mean, that's exactly what you guys are doing. What about you, Jamie? What's the career look like to you? How do you feel about it?
I think that we are in the midst of a really huge cultural shift, and I'm excited about that. I've seen everything from the most open-minded leadership to the most problematic leadership, and when you look at some of these people that have been in this career from the jump, and they're giving these talks and they're saying things like, hey, it's different now, and that's okay, and we want to move forward with you. And I didn't get that when I started, but I want you to have it. I mean, that is a cool moment to be able to look at yourself and be like, we got to change. So cool. And for us to be in the midst of that shift is, sometimes I'm not appreciative enough for it. And I think EMS on the clinical side, which is also very important, I think we're making steps to be taken, I think, more seriously clinically, and really truly become clinicians and be utilized in that way, to where traditionally, like paramedic, for instance, in the ER, they're a tech, right? But I think people are starting to see the benefit to the way of thought of medics. And that's been a really cool thing to be a part of, to encourage that growth and that forward movement in education, and the clinical aspect of our job. And the social and emotional side it's really exciting.
You guys are in an awesome place. I mean, truly, this is so inspiring for me to know that EMS is going to be in the hands of you all and I'm not just saying future leaders, you guys are leaders, but continuing to grow. The sky is the limit for you all, truly. And to be able to, at least I feel the momentum around you all with the support of leadership. And it's like some of the older people, and we'll include ourselves, are lifting people up, truly like you, and giving you the opportunity and encouraging. Not everybody does it, and that's okay. Because there are bad apples in all the bunch. I mean, it is what it is. But there's a lot more good, I think, that the industry is able to promote. And one of the things that comes to my mind, that a leadership quote, and I remind myself of it sometimes, is the phrase of, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And I think that's it. That is what we are trying to do, is to become better. And man, y'all are making it better. I'm honored that you hung out with us today.
Thank you.
You guys are part of a machine in a great way, and are game changers. And tell everybody about your podcast again, where to find it.
It is called Life in Sirens, and you can listen wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's apparently a lot of miscellaneous other options. So anywhere that you feel like you want to listen to a podcast, we have an RSS feed that you can check out and see all those options. And yeah,
that's so cool. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for what it is you do. You guys are rock stars.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Joseph Powell, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too, man. So this is your first TASA conference.
It is. First one I've ever been to, and pretty impressed and enjoyed myself, and I'm glad I came. Brought some staff with me.
How many staff members you bring?
So I have one that came with me specifically to learn at some of the conferences, and then I had several that showed up for one of our staff members that was getting an award. So all in total, I think I had 6 or 7. So.
And in what county do you work?
Crockett County.
Crockett County. And tell us about what you do there.
The EMS director. I've been there for about a year now. Originally was a paramedic on the truck, worked my way up, became the assistant director.
Okay.
And then when the opportunity presented itself to be the director, I decided to step in and take that leadership role.
What has it been like for you over the past year?
It's been kind of terrifying, actually. It's one of those things you don't really know what you're supposed to do until you've got to do it. I tell people all the time, it's a lot easier to take care of people than it is, or take care of patients than it is people. You know, you've got a book that you can follow, or you know what you're supposed to do, and then you start taking care of people, and you're just like, man, what do I do? You know, because everybody's different, you know, and it's learning that has been kind of difficult. But I think I'm okay. At least I hope I'm okay.
Well, 1 year, you've 100%, like you were definitely doing stuff right.
Yeah.
Was it a big transition, you know, from taking care of a patient, and then you realize that you're coming in, and it's like you got to do it all as a leader?
Yeah, it really was. You know, it's, you know, when you're a medic on the truck, you're taking care of one, and then when you become a leader of the entire service, you have not only the people that are under you, that are your staff, that you're taking care of those people, but you're responsible for all of the patients, and you know the entire citizens. You know, we have a county of 13,000 citizens, and I think about that every day. I'm like, you know, I'm responsible for every one of these citizens every day. You know, along with my staff. You know, how do I take care of each one of those individually, and then still be responsible for everybody else? And you know, it's
a heavy weight, isn't it?
It is. It
you
is
try
a
not
big
to think
heavy
about
weight.
it.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah. So you know, when they come to me and they want something, you know, it's, hey, how does this benefit everybody? And I try to give them that, and that's been one of the key things that I found that works the best. You know, in the leadership role that I'm in, where I'm at, is doing what's right for everybody, and giving them what they need to take care of people.
So people that are aspiring to be a leader in your journey, what do you think some things that you did before you got in the director's position that helped you?
I ask questions like crazy.
Before you get in the position?
Before I got into the position, I asked questions like crazy. I'd always been kind of interested in the leadership role. When I first started EMS, Jimmy Studdard was still alive. I don't know if you know who he was.
Right, knew of him.
He ran Haywood County, and I was just enamored by how he was as a director and what he did, but had no clue what a director did. So I just started asking questions, you know, like during budget season, you know, what are you working on? You know, why are you doing this? You know, how do you buy an ambulance? You know, nobody really knows. Ambulances just show up. You know, nobody really knows how you buy an ambulance.
Great point.
You know, and
you don't have to worry about it as a provider.
That's
You're just
right.
like, when's the new truck coming?
Or your monitors. Your monitors just show up one day. You're like, man, this one's broke. Next thing you know, 3 days later, you got a new one.
That's right.
You know, you ask the questions like, how did you get this? Like, where does this come from? You know, what do you do? How do we do our billing? How does our billing work? You know, I do this ticket, and we're supposed to get paid for it, but like, how does this work? How does this process? How does this go? And the more questions you ask, the more that you'll start to see that, like, oh, there's a lot more behind the curtain here, and then you'll decide whether it's for you or not, first of all, and then you just keep going deeper and deeper, just more and more questions, and then you start taking those questions, and then you start almost planting yourself in the role of like, hey, let me help you. You know, this is something that I can handle.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if, you know, you're a provider, taking care of a patient. You know, anybody can do a supply order.
Right.
You know,
that's so important. And Joseph, what I'm thinking about when you're doing this, for those, we have a lot of people that listen to this that are not leaders in an official. They're all leaders, but in an official capacity. And one of the things that you just said that stands out to me is that for the providers that are in a role in leading and taking care of patients, is to know that everything that you do, it is for a reason. If you fill out a run sheet, it is for a reason. It's to protect you. It's to protect the patient. But what I would encourage the providers that are listening to this is to know that it is not just something. It's not just a task. There is something attached to it that has meaning. And for everyone to know why maintenance is important on the ambulance, the run sheets are important to protect you, to be able to become better. The budgets, the responsibilities of the directors, the leadership, all of these tasks are incredibly important, but I appreciate you highlighting that. What I wanted to ask you is tell me about some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the first year. Like if you could be specific, maybe like, wow, this is overwhelming. How do you do? I'm just using an example. How do you handle the stress of, you know, feeling that responsibility? Is there anything that comes to mind that you've had to learn over the first year that you're like, wow, I never saw that coming?
Yeah, this is going to sound terrible, but I mean, honestly, this is probably the best example. You know, it's a different relationship between a patient and, you know, taking care of somebody. You know, everybody, kindness is free. You know, everybody, you can be kind to a patient, but it's adjusting that, I want to say, attitude and perception to a director's role and having to deal with a multitude of different types of personalities. I'm lucky enough to have a assistant director that handles large crowds pretty well. You know, he can, I call him, he's just politics his way all over the place. Me, myself, not so much, you know, so it was a big adjustment learning how to talk to different commissioners, talking to patients or family members that would call and, you know, have some sort of issue or complaint, you know, and having to have that empathy and talk to them and say, hey, I understand, I'm stuck, you know, I'm here to take care of you, but I'm a provider as well. I can see both sides. That was a big adjustment. You know, I don't think a lot of people really want to talk about that, but that's probably one of the biggest ones for me, was just that adjustment from being a provider on the truck to actually being in a role where you had to talk to the different people and handle different personalities and different attitudes, and, you know, and take care of that on a professional level. You know, most of the time you get a call where somebody complains, you know, you fuss a little bit on the truck and you get out and you, hey, how are you? You take care of them, and then, you know, you get done and you fuss a little bit more, but, you know, there's some of those complaints, they're real, and, you know, you've got to do stuff, and that was a big transition.
Sure.
From going from a paramedic to a leader and a director that actually had to hear all of it, and that was kind of stressful.
It sounds like you have a team of people. Your assistant director complements an area that you don't have, or you feel like you're not as strong in. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and I think that's what it's all made up of.
I agree. And that's why I brought that up, is because I think our roles and leaders is maybe we don't have all the answers, but we have people that actually can complement us. In this podcast, as an example, Lee hates when I do this, but Lee's the producer, which you had met, is we have two different skill sets. Yes, we can still take care of patients, but he's the tech guy. He's the producer. I'm not. I don't know anything about that. I'm like, Lee, where do you want me to put this tape at this morning? But I do think, though, in leadership and as you continue on your journey, I think you have learned a valuable lesson that sometimes people have to learn the hard way, is to rely on your team and to use the strengths of the people that are around you that complement you, because we're all in this together.
Oh, absolutely. I never want to be the smartest person in the room, you know, and that's pretty much how I live my day to day. Like, I always want to be dumber than the next person that's sitting beside me, and being able to use those people to compliment me and help me and get other people other places, I think is a big deal.
Without question. I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to let you get back to your day. There's a lot happening here at the conference this week. Is what advice would you give someone who aspires to be a leader and maybe be a director? What advice would you give them if, you know, they're, you know, just starting into the field and they're like, you know, maybe one day I'll do something like you guys here on the podcast? Any advice that you could give them?
Find you a mentor and stick with them. I think a lot of people, you know, they lack in that department of being able to find them a mentor. I don't know if they're just afraid to ask for it, or if, you know, they're that hard to find. But find you a mentor and tell them, be honest with them, be like, hey, you know, I'd like to be you one day, and let them educate you and follow them, and, you know, hold on to their coattail and move on up and teach you the things that need to be taught. I think that would probably be the best way.
I love that.
I feel like we lack in, you know, mentorship sometimes.
We do.
EMS.
Yeah,
and
we do.
I think that's a big deal.
I think it's a huge deal. And I think the culture of EMS is changing here. And for those that are struggling to find a mentor, and this was my case early on, is there are so many resources that can mentor you before you actually get that physical mentor, because there's a lot of different mentors that can mentor us in different ways. Is, you know, there's books, there's podcasts like this that help us get better for preparing for that opportunity to get a mentor. It will happen. It's just about timing. It's about the environment. It's about the networking. And that's why we love this conference here in February. It's snowing today. It was, you know, one of those surprise
it's like
storms.
11 degrees outside.
I know, it's freezing. But, you know, to your point, if you're looking for a mentor and you're looking to grow your leadership skills, this is why people need to come to conferences like this, is because it forces you to get out of your comfort zone and to meet people and to ask questions. And you're a perfect role model of that. And we are so happy that people like you that are into this and that care about it, or that are at these conferences, because you're the future of EMS. You got a ways to go, and you're going to impact a lot of lives. And we appreciate you being with us today, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate the invite. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, thanks for what you do.
Yes, sir.
First responders are the backbone of our communities, but often funding restrictions leave stations without essential resources. That's where Serve Strong, Corbin Scott Goad Memorial Foundation steps in. They understand that not every response is a rescue, which is why they focus on ensuring first responders are well rested, physically fit, mentally strong, and equipped with the resources and education they need to save lives. Serve Strong is dedicated to filling in the gaps for first responders, addressing needs that stations might not be able to cover. The foundation exists because of the compassion and professionalism of first responders, witnessed firsthand in the midst of tragic circumstances. If your department needs support, or if you want to support their mission, visit servestrong.us. That's servestrong.us. Serve Strong, Corbin Scott Goad Memorial Foundation. Because when we're strong, our communities are strong too. Don't miss out on the first ever Serve Strong Bash, happening Saturday, October the 4th in Fairfield Glade. Save that date. Serve Strong, Corbin Scott Goad Memorial Foundation, filling in the gaps for first responders.
For joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am as well.
I grabbed you in the hall and I was like, Dakota, please come and hang out with us. And but Dakota, for those that don't know you, please kind of share where you work and tell us about last night.
Okay, so my name is Dakota Dow. I'm a critical care paramedic and a supervisor at Johnson County Rescue Squad and EMS. I've done this job for going on 9.5 years.
Okay.
Love every bit of it.
How'd you get interested in EMS? And you're for those that are not familiar with where you work, that is East Tennessee.
That is the very most northern eastern part of the state.
Okay.
So we border North Carolina and Virginia.
Gotcha. Okay, so
So
you were in the mountains.
We are, very much a rural area. What got me interested in EMS was it was every kid's childhood dream. You know, fire truck, they seen the lights and all that stuff. And for me, that was what really pulled me in. And it just latched on to me. And ever since, I've had it's like an addiction to it. And for me, it's just something I enjoy.
What age was it that you realized, man, this is it? Like, this is my calling?
Oh, very early in life. I would say at least 12, 13 years
Really?
old.
So
yes.
you were like, man, this
Yeah.
is it. I want to do it.
Yes. We have an Explorer program where we let students like middle school, high school that come and ride with us, and I was there every second of every day I could get up there. I was doing it.
So you were part of the Explorer
Yeah.
program.
I was very young in it and
Okay.
just went up the ladder, you know.
And it just shaped you.
I am here, you know, doing what I love now. So
How old were you when you went through EMT school?
right out of high school.
Right out of
So
high school. Okay.
18-ish.
And did you get right on the ambulance after that?
When I got my advanced EMT, I
Okay.
did.
And how, after EMT, when did you go back to AEMT school?
Right after.
Right
EMT,
after.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I never took a break. I went EMT, advanced EMT,
fancy.
paramedic, and then I had about a 2-year break because
Okay.
we had that was the regulation for critical care
Sure.
school.
So I want you to think about this a second. So when I got my EMT license, it was in '86, so a long time ago. What year were you born?
97.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a long time ago. But I still, Dakota, I'll never forget like the experience of like, wow, this is happening, and you're riding down the road and the siren comes on and you get there and you're seeing the impact that we get to have as care providers. Do you remember your I won't say the first call, but your first experience of like, man, this is what I have been
Yes,
called to do.
Yes, and for me at least, when Hurricane Helene set in,
Okay.
you see a lot of bad in the world, but then you actually, with that, you see so much good. People was helping people they didn't even know. Mm-hmm. You know, they were cutting trees. Like yesterday during the seminar, the the guy from Unicoi County, the physician.
Yes.
He was very, outspoken on how much the community just come together and helped each other.
Which is EMS in a nutshell, right? We're a community.
So it was very eye-opening, and it kind of makes you realize that the job is not just all negative.
Yeah.
There is so much positive.
It is.
And that's kind of the way I see it. So
Well, let's talk about something positive. Last night, and I know you don't want to talk about this, but I appreciate you letting me bring this up, is there's an awards banquet. And you won what award?
The Paramedic of the Year award.
Okay. That I want to pause for a second, Dakota, and realize there's 95 counties in this state. There's a lot of paramedics, and you won that award. How does that make you feel?
Makes you feel recognized.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, and I feel like there's a lot of paramedics out there that deserve that award.
Yes.
I'm very humble about that because, you've got paramedics that are just fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, just the best people you've ever met, phenomenal patient care, and they're top-notch people. Just so, to say that I won that award, it makes me feel great. But at the same time, too, it's like the state of Tennessee, especially, some of the best paramedics I've ever met in my life work in the state of Tennessee.
And you're recognized, you're like a model of what can happen that people need to aspire to be. Last year, I won the Leadership Award. So I know exactly how you feel, and I appreciate your interpretation of that because I felt the same way. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get this recognition.
Yeah.
But I think it is in a grander scheme as leaders is that sometimes we have to recognize the individuals that are doing an exceptional job because we are leaders, and I mean you're truly the model of leadership. I will tell you, Dakota. Last night, in meeting you in our leadership class that we were doing this week at the conference, your humility and approachability is a quality in a leader that you possess. I don't know if you realize how impactful and influential that is, but that is exactly one of the reasons why you won that award is because you don't think you deserve it. And I just wanted to point out that quality with you because I've seen it, and I know you're the future, one of the future leaders in the state, and it's a big deal. So I just wanted to publicly recognize you for that because it is a quality that with leaders, we pull the good from all the leaders that we make, right? We know that we have stuff to learn, but you're a normal guy. You still work the calls, and but. Do you see yourself as a leader? Just curious.
I want to say more of an influencer. I don't try to sway people one way or another. I will never ask anyone to do something I would never do.
Yeah.
Whether it's a decision that I make on a call or just, as a supervisor in general, I try to back that up with, I'm not the most experienced person in the world, but make a decision I feel like I can sleep at night with. And 100% just on every patient I run, on every decision I make, I try to give 100%.
Yeah, there is no doubt that you do. I got one more question for you,
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm gonna let you go. And thank you for being with us today. And this is just a general question. You're in a position of recognition. Like you get this award. When you go home, you're going to be getting texts. You're going to be getting phone calls. But really what I would love to know is what inspires you to get up and serve the way that you do?
For me, it would be my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I feel like He's the reason I do what I do, and I strive to please Him. So
And being able to serve others, which He was the role model doing, right? The true
Yeah.
essence of leadership. And man, we are so grateful that you are in this community of EMS. You make a difference, truly. You will continue to make a difference. And congratulations
Thank
on
you,
your
sir.
award. And thanks for hanging out with us for a few minutes.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
For joining us on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me, Eric.
I want to start by this. So we're gonna tell everybody what you do. But I'm going to say this. You and I have worked together a long time.
Yes,
A long time.
we have.
And I will say this publicly before we tell everybody what you do. You have to be one of the best educators I have ever seen.
Oh, Eric, thank you. That's so kind.
And I'm not just saying that. And I say that for those that don't know my background. I've been educating a long time. There are some qualities that I want to talk about. But before we jump in, I would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience and what you do.
So I'm Mary Lee Limley. I'm a clinical nurse specialist at Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. I'm the perinatal coordinator for Middle Tennessee, and that's the 37 counties in the middle of the state. And I'm the neonatal outreach manager for Vanderbilt. And what all that boils down to is you never know where you're going to find us. We basically travel border to border Tennessee, South Kentucky, North Alabama, and any place else we're asked to go. When I first took this job, I said,
When was it, by the way?
I took this job as outreach in 2006.
Okay.
So just a few years.
Which is, in fact, we work together at Children's. And I started my role in the pediatric world. Outreach was 2006. So it was around that time.
Around that same time.
Yeah.
Of course, I started at Vanderbilt in 2000. So been there a little bit longer. But I told him, I said, I'll go anywhere. Learned real quick, be careful what you offer. I've done education in 28 states and 13 international locations.
All for neonatal.
All for neonatal.
Okay.
So have helped deliver babies, real babies, from dirt floors to level 4 NICUs. So real passion for our babies and our babies' health. I had 3 healthy pre-nursing. I had 3 healthy babies prenatally and 3 sick babies when they got here. Wow. So that's part of my passion. You know, I had the sick baby. I was fortunate enough to get to keep all 3 of my babies.
Yeah.
So education is a big component.
So when we dive into that, Mary Lee, last night was the TASA Awards, and you won an award.
I did.
Tell us about that.
It was the Tennessee State EMS Advocate of the Year.
By the way, we were all emotional watching this because we knew that you were so deserving. I mean, truly. And we were not surprised when we learned that you won that award because of your passion and that you truly are impacting Tennessee. And give us an overview of what it is and why you're impacting Tennessee the way that you are. You're passionate. You had everybody stand up last night that have had a specific certification. I don't want to steal your thunder, but kind of like tell us why you got that award.
You know, education is important, and we're empowered by the education that we have. And, you know, less than a little over a year ago, an article came out, data from the March of Dimes, that Tennessee has a lot of maternal deserts.
What does that mean, Mary Lee, the desert?
So we've got 95 counties in this state. 54 of those counties do not have OB services. So some of these mothers may have to drive as much as 70 minutes to get to a delivering hospital.
Wow.
And everybody would say, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. We don't have OB docs in these counties. This is, what are we going to do? And there was a lot of this, what are we going to do? You know, and, you know, I got that internal push. You know, we need to do something. And I said, you know, we can't make OB doctors. But EMS is 19,000 strong. And this is where our babies are being born right now, a lot of them. We have a lot of home deliveries on purpose. We have a lot of home deliveries not on purpose. And ACLS, BLS, and PALS, most of them have it.
It's a requirement by many.
It is. Neonates are not small pediatric patients. We have to treat them different. And in the last 6 months, we've had 4 babies that have died across the state because the staff did the best they could with the education they had, but they did not have NRP. So when I got to looking at this, I went to the state perinatal board and I said, look, we got to do something. and this is my proposal. So I went to the state EMS board, and I said, we have to have NRP for our EMS world. They're 19,000 strong, but they're
everywhere.
They are, but they're not equipped to take care of our babies. And 24-week babies are very viable if you have the equipment to take care of them. Most ambulances at that time did not have the equipment to take care of these small babies. So some of these babies, all you have to do is ventilate them once or twice, and they say, wow, this is pretty cool. And you don't have to do anything else because they don't know any better. The babies don't know that they have to do some of the things they do. We have to teach them. But if we don't have the education to provide that for the babies, they will die. So after I talked to the EMS board, a lot of the counties say we don't have the money for the NRP exams. NRP exams run $55 a piece. So I went back to the state perinatal board and said, they're willing, but they have no money. So in less than 3 months, the state gave us $135,000 for NRP exams.
$135. They're giving you
$135,000.
$135,000.
And
to do what with?
So to buy NRP exams. So that equates to about 3,300 exams.
Okay.
Not as many as I wanted, but we're getting there. We've got to start someplace. Mm-hmm. So I also went to the schools, EMS school, EMT school, AEMT, paramedic, and said, look, we need NRP. So most of these schools have now made it mandatory. Before the student gets out of school, they have to have NRP. So we go and do their NRP. So some of these small counties that are hiring in staff, they're hiring in with NRP. So we can infiltrate that way also. So there is there's supposed to be 10 perinatal educators across the state in 5 regions. So we've divided it out. We divided out the NRP exams, and we're working on it. In less than 6 months, we have touched 55 out of the 95 counties. The Department of Health asked us, said, what else do you need? I said, I need more money. They said, how much do you need? I said, $522,000. They said, we'll get back to you. And in a positive way.
Absolutely.
So, I've had a couple say, is this really sustainable? I said, it is if we make it that way. So we've got more buy-in from the counties. The counties have invested in their equipment. Currently on the EMS supply list, it requires cuff tubes, while our babies require uncuffed tubes. And several years ago, a mandate came down, all pediatric patients need to be intubated with cuff tubes. So they pulled all the uncuffed. But we're not peds. We fall below peds. So we're gradually working to get that back on the trucks, masks small enough for these babies. We're getting there, one county at a time.
Have you had any success stories yet? You've had success stories your whole career, but specifically about the impact that your work, there's other people involved, I understand that, but the work that you're part of is impacting lives. Have you had success stories yet?
I have. Well, the one that pops up, we were in Cheatham County, teaching stable. And, just going down the lines, teaching what to do after you resuscitate a baby, and the tones dropped. Delivery in progress. So 3 of the paramedics in the back of the room got up and left. And in a few minutes, we heard baby delivered, baby not breathing, don't have the equipment. And small enough for this baby. And Rick looked at me and said, grab your bag. And so I did. Grabbed the bag, we got in the truck, we went there. And the youngest of the 3 paramedics was there, and he looked up at me and he said, I had to take the lead because I had NRP.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, good for you. And he was doing all the things right. And he says, but I don't have a small enough mask. And, of course, handed in the mask, baby's sats went up, baby's heart rate went up. And he said, this is cool. Well, I got word from behind me, we'll order equipment today.
Wow.
And so the young paramedic looked at me and said, you're going to ride to Vanderbilt with me, right? And I said, no. You got this. I'm going back to class. So, you get stories like that. You get stories that, Right after we had your class, we got a call for a mom. We picked her up and we thought, okay, we've got to pull all our supplies together. And we got to the hospital in the nick of time. I said, but you did all the things. You made sure you had all your equipment out. And just to think that they're pulling that together, and then when they say, I didn't know what I didn't know, our babies are having better outcomes. Sometimes when you pull the data, it's hard to see, did it help? Did it not help? Because some babies just are not going to survive. And what you have to do, and I tell staff this, what you have to do is say, I did the best thing I possibly could for the best outcome. Because that final outcome is not in our hands. It's just not.
Right. That's right.
And as an educator and as a mom.
Yeah. You're passionate about it. Yeah. It makes a difference.
It does make a difference. And like I said, as a mom,
Yeah.
if the outcome is not where you want it, that's not in our hands.
Yeah.
But when the staff look at you and you watch the staff and the staff did everything right, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
We had a set of twins that didn't have the outcome that we wanted in one of the upper northern counties. The mom said, I watched, and she was a nurse. She said, I watched everybody, and they did everything they possibly could for a good outcome. And the nice thing is the EMS that picked her up had NRP. They didn't have any OB services in the county. So the ED staff, all of them had NRP. And I tell them, I said, if you're in a county that doesn't have OB services and you run into trouble, call Lifelight. Lifelight will help you resuscitate, stabilize, maintain until we can make a plan to get them where they need to be. They will come to your help. So they did. They picked up the phone. They called Lifelight. Lifelight flew in. They called Neo Transport. Neo Transport was on their way in. And when the ED nurse and the Lifelight nurse, 2 in each, because they were manning twins, they said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And she said, oh, yeah, that's what I had thought too. And they had all been trained the same way. And it was like the left hand knew what the right hand was doing. And everybody did a good job for the best outcome possible. So those are rewarding stories.
Mary Lee, you are so inspiring. For those that are listening to this and wonder if what they do makes a difference, I think you are that role model of dedicating yourself and doing the things and being an educator and being a leader. And I am so grateful that you spent time. And you're deserving. I know you understand the team concept and the people that you work with, and that award is much deserving to you. You are making a difference. You're going to continue. Your leadership has impacted all of us, and I'm truly grateful to call you friend and for what it is that you do for EMS.
I appreciate that. And this award was super humbling, because we do it for the babies. We do. We do it for the babies. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the discussion today. Check us out on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Also subscribe and follow us. We value your feedback. Please leave us a comment or ask a question. As this journey continues, remember, the most important person that you will ever lead is you. Thank you for joining us today.